Hey guys, welcome back. Super casual video today. I'm going to be talking about some of the do's and some of the don'ts when it comes to fruit trees. As you can see, this is one of our pear trees here. There are a lot of beautiful pears on this tree. It's only its third year, 34th. I have to double check on that, but it's absolutely loaded, and so are many of our other fruit trees. And then there are some that are not doing so well. So I'm going to tell you some of the things we've been doing that work and some that didn't work so well. This is not a super large tree and it is young, obviously, but what I'm doing first of all is I'm trying to train these branches down. So number one is do shape those branches, because if I just let this pear tree grow how it normally would have wanted to grow, it would have been just straight up and down. All these pears I wouldn't be able to reach, and it would have been a huge pain. I would have to climb a ladder, and I don't want to be climbing a ladder to pick. Not only is it inconvenient, but it can be dangerous. So number one, do train those branches the direction that you want them to go. One don't that I will say is don't wait until they get to this point to do it. So as you can see, these are just strings that came on hay bales, and we have a ton of those. So fortunately I didn't have to buy string, and I have them all the way down here on some tent stakes. So these are tent stakes. I will link these. But this is one of the more, I have them kind of all around the tree, and then I do have them on other trees in the distance too. Like you can see that peach tree there has the same thing, and I really do need to get to my other trees. The reason I'm having to use these tent stakes, they're not that expensive, but they are more expensive than obviously something that is free. I needed something strong enough to hold these branches down now that they're pretty thick, since I didn't do it the first year and the second year. So I think better late than never, and I'm assuming this will still work the way that it's supposed to eventually, but I would recommend doing it when the tree is younger. I will show you an example over here. So here we have a little tiny, what is this? This is a Granny Smith apple, I believe. And this was not, I was not shaping this appropriately originally. So here I'm able to just use these little water bottles I have. Really, you can use whatever you want. You can have a rock down there. I've seen people do it that way. And actually these branches are still thicker than I really want to be doing this with. So let me find a better example. So here is another one of our pear trees. As you can see, lots of pears. I think this one might be the Bartlett pear. But these are going to be more like the age that we want to be shaping them. This is like a third year branch, either a second or a third year branch. So that's obviously thicker than this one right here, which is much more ideal. I'll show you over here too on one of our apricot trees. So even though this apricot tree is only we've only had it for 2 years. So I think it might be more like 3 years. Because it's younger, these branches are just more pliable and it's easier to shape them. So I'm able to use kind of this method with these water bottles instead of having to stake them down. And especially if I was trying to move these thick branches here, there would be a much bigger risk of breaking them, which brings me to my next point. Please don't make the same mistake I did and pull too hard when you're trying to shape those branches. That is another reason why it is so much better to shape and prune when the branches are young and tender and green, as they call it. Because I cannot tell you how heartbreaking it is when you are trying to shape those branches and you break off a big, beautiful branch. Oh my gosh, don't do it. Be more reserved than you think you have to be, because once that thing snaps, it's heartbreaking and you can't go back. This is another example of a pear tree that I should have shaped a long time ago, and I didn't. So now you can see, because these pear trees they love to grow just straight up and down. And this thing was super tall. I was all the way up there, and trying to train it this way now, but should have done it when it was younger for sure. These are actually Asian pears, and I will link all the trees in this video. I got almost all my trees from Stark Brothers. They're still my favorite. So I'll link those for you if you want the exact ones that I got. All right, I guess right over there, let's talk about, this is a little Montmorency pie cherry tree. We did harvest a bunch of pie cherries off of it. They're gone now. That season is past, but it looks okay right now, but it's very full. So another, I guess it could be a do or don't. Do prune your tree appropriately. I didn't prune this one quite as much as I probably should have while it was still dormant. Some people prune while it's green. If you want to do that, you can. I prefer to do it while they're dormant. It's doing okay right now. All right, here is a fruit tree don't for you. Don't let all the weeds grow right around the base, just like that. I have to come in with a weed whacker and I have to clean up around the mulch here. My husband did come in and mow, which is awesome, but we do have to weed whack, and you've got to be so careful while you're weed whacking because you can do a lot of damage to the trunks. So make sure you're being reasonable. And that's why I haven't weed whacked yet, because you do not want to damage those trunks with the weed whacker. While we're here, here's another one. Take care of these suckers. I should get some clippers, and actually, I don't know if they're suckers or shoots. I'll write the technical term here on the screen, but these are not great. We don't want the tree putting its energy into these. So whenever I see them, I try to come along and clip them away. Of course, I don't have my clippers with me right now, but we don't want the tree to put its energy into these. So speaking of mulch, that is a fruit tree do. We do want to mulch our fruit trees, and I don't see any yet, but this year I actually planted some wine cap mushrooms in the mulch of the trees. I don't know if we'll see any fruit this year, fingers crossed, but otherwise most likely next year. And that should really help with just the whole kind of biodiversity going on and help those fruit trees a lot, is what I have heard. Here's a don't for you. Don't neglect treating your trees for disease like I did here, and probably don't let them fruit if they're as weak as this one is. So I really just needed some encouragement, and I really wanted some peaches this year. It's our first year really getting peaches. This one I probably should have just thinned all the fruit off of to let it get a chance to recover. It has something I believe called curly leaf curl. And the problem is I can't treat it until fall. I can't treat it until the tree is dormant, but I'm going to do that this fall. And it probably was not the greatest decision to leave these little peaches on. So if that's something that you're dealing with, maybe make your own call there. Speaking of pruning, if you have to do some really heavy pruning, probably best not to wait until the last minute. Guys, look, it looks like an alpaca. This is what happens when you don't deal with problems right away. I didn't want to heavily prune this tree because it was just gonna break my heart to have to chop it down right there. And if I had done that, probably down there would be all the greenery that is up there, but instead it's not there and it's up there and I'm gonna have to chop it. So, hey, let me know what you think I should do with this tree, because this one has me a little perplexed. Yeah, and this is one of those ones I got from a big box store. Why I don't recommend going to big box stores for trees anymore, for various reasons. One was because it was just pruned horribly, and now I've already invested like 1.5 years into it, and we're gonna almost have to start all the way over. So here's kind of a better view of the orchard in general, and a lot of the trees do still need shaping, but kind of toward the back here is where we have our younger trees. And one thing I will say is don't neglect those younger trees during their first year when it comes to watering. We don't worry about our bigger trees with watering. They're established. Unless something really crazy happens, they're all going to be fine. They've got mulch. That's another nice thing about mulch. But these little guys, if this is their first year, I believe this one is a donut peach, I want to say. No, just kidding. This one's a bubblegum plum. They do have nice heavy mulch, and we haven't watered any of these even during some really hot and dry spells like right now. And they're still doing okay because they have a thick layer of mulch. But if you want to speed things up, like this one, definitely I need to shape these branches. Check this out. These need to all come out for sure, because that's not a good shape the way it is right now. But we need a weed whack, and we're just going to be periodically checking on these to make sure that they're looking okay. What is this one? This is another Montmorency sour cherry tree. Yeah, absolutely love that tree. Already doing really well. These are also a couple more that we added, periodically checking and making sure those leaves don't look like they are wilting. Red gold nectarine. Like this one though, I got this one a little bit earlier in the season. I think it was like maybe 4 weeks earlier than the other ones. And this one I'm not worried about at all. Hi boys. How's the bachelor pad? Do consider thinning out the fruits so that number one, you don't weigh down the tree too much, but number two, that you get decently sized fruits. I found the trees do actually a pretty good job about thinning out themselves, but sometimes you need to come along and clean it up, at least the trees we've had so far. This one is a peach tree, and our peach trees have had quite a bit of pest damage, which I think is typical and I think will only get worse as time goes on. So also consider whatever pest mitigation system you want to use, whether that's spraying, it could be organic spray, it could be non-organic spray. I think kale and clay is really popular. You can use like actual barriers, like they make little insect mesh bags. I can probably link those for you. I think some places use brown paper bags. Not sure if that works or not, but just look into whatever system you want to use. We weren't planning on a huge fruit harvest this year ourselves, so we didn't really plan in advance, but I think that's something we'll definitely want to do next year. Although I will say I was very surprised that I got some beautiful apricots already that were delicious. They had basically little to no pest damage. I don't mind a little bit of pest damage, honestly. So there are a few fruit trees do's and don'ts that kind of came to mind with my semi-neglected orchard this year. We're just super excited to have such beautiful progress so far, even with such minimal care. That's always kind of what we're striving for, honestly, is the balance between putting in the work with great payoff, but also not allowing it to take over our lives. So hopefully that was somewhat helpful to somebody out there. Like I mentioned, I will link all of the trees that I got from Stark Brothers in the description box below. So hopefully that's helpful. Please let me know how your fruit trees in your garden is doing this year. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.